Good afternoon. What is going on, everybody? Quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if I need to turn my audio up. Hopefully everybody had a good trading day today. Let us know, let me know in the chat how your day ended up today. Were you up on the day? Were you down on the day? Anything you learned from today that you can take into tomorrow? Anything you learned that you can journal? Audio's a bit low. Let's try to turn it up just a little bit more. How's that now? I know I've been hearing, some people say with the audio, if you're listening without a headset, it sounds a little bit lower than if you were listening with the headset. So that might be the issue there. But I see some green in the chat like that. Up 1,000 today from Tink Trades. What a mess trying to cover from a $1,700 loss yesterday. Nice recovery, right? Don't worry about what the loss was. Focus on taking the next trades and then putting that loss behind you. Audio sounds good today. Awesome. Elvis, do I carry trades overnight in my personal account with micros? Sometimes I will. Depends on the position. And if I like the position, usually not going to do it with minis. Like you said, doing it with micros. But yeah, sometimes I will for sure. Mute that over there. Electricity and internet went out this morning. Only one green trade this afternoon. Sometimes all you need is one, Joanna. Sometimes all you need is one. Andrew, after yesterday, I took today off, figured out what I was doing wrong. Sometimes that's what you need, right? Stepping away from the desk, getting a bigger picture view of what's happening and seeing from there. But welcome everyone. I am Coach Jay. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, our first time meeting, very nice to meet you. I've been a Topstep Performance Coach for about a year, a little over a year now, and running this At the Buzzer segment in Discord for the better part of that year with Coach Paul, who you may have saw on TopstepTV today. We're planning on having Coach Paul join me next week here. Let's get some participation in the chat. Where is everybody from? Let me know where you're from. I am in New York. Let me know where you guys are watching from right now. And we'll get started in just a few minutes. Dirty Jers, Tink Trades, Austin, Texas, from Joanna, Miami, Tachi, nice. From Michigan, Bay Area, California. I've never been to the Bay. Tennessee, LA, Augusta, Georgia, South Carolina, West Palm, Brooklyn, New York, my birthplace of the greatest rapper of all time, as well as Charlotte. Western North Carolina, England, shout out to England, land of chocolate, Switzerland. Coco from Germany. Awesome. New Zealand in the house. BK is in the house, Coach Vince. Scott, you mentioned Biggie. Brooklyn might be able to claim two of the best rappers of all time. But welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this call is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We're going to talk about the major markets, the NASDAQ, ES, crude oil, gold. We may mention some markets that you have not traded before. I think our goal as traders is to identify opportunity and see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. So that's what we're going to talk about. Do a little high level overview, and then we'll get into some of the technicals of what happened for the day. On the news today, we know we had that jobless claims number come out this morning. Came out below expectations, which is good. Expectations were 235,000. It came in at 227,000, which looks good for the job market and for the futures market and the equities that we're trading. Retail sales up 1%, where the expectation was 0.4. So a little bit more money being spent with our retailers, which is good as well when people have disposable income. We had Fed Musalem saying the economy is growing, will be data dependent, but he's not seeing any data that says that we are heading towards a recession. And then futures traders, that we talked about that basis point cut in September. Yesterday, that number was at 64.5%. Today, it's at 75% chance of a 25-point basis cut. So nearing high probability of a 25-point basis cut. in September. Let's talk about the top percentage movers for the day. We have wheat down 1.4%, micro Bitcoin down 3.29%, micro Ethereum down 5.02% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we have platinum up 3.50%, the Nikkei up 3.69%, and silver up 3.92% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. A lot of big moves today, though. A lot of big moves. That being said, in 1976, the band Thin Lizzy and their lead singer Phil Lynott put out a song. Phil was born in England, raised in Ireland, so he had a little bit of an accent. Can barely hear me. Can you hear me now? But Phil Lynott had an accent, so you guys may know this song, but he wrote it about days like today. He was actually saying the buyers are back in town, and not the boys. Buyers are back in the equities. It looks like they turned the buy program back on. We had a really nice rally, 2% up day in the NASDAQ, 2.37%. So the buyers are back. He was Irish to the core. He was singing "The Buyers Are Back in Town." Didn't know if you knew that about those lyrics, but let's talk about it. Let's look at the NASDAQ. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Did I pronounce it wrong, Chris? My bad. But here we go with the NASDAQ. Let's look at the overnight session. We talked a little bit yesterday about the volume that was coming into these markets being lower. But I did hear Hogue mention that open interest was increasing, which may mean that we're seeing buyers coming into these markets, right? Whether they are, we're not seeing a huge push, right? Up until today, right? We did see a decent push of volume today, but people were buying these markets, right? Someone was buying, whether they were buying the close on their shorts, or we're seeing new shorts coming in. That'll add to that open interest. But as these markets are pushing up, we are seeing buyers step in. First thing I want to do here, I'm going to take this volume indicator off of here for now. We're going to remove some of the drawings that I have on here. And a really important level in the NASDAQ today, we traded above it yesterday in the ES, but the anchored view up from the all-time high. It's this big yellow line that you see on my charts right now. And when we came into today, that was right around 19,358, right? So pretty important level up there. Like I said, in the ES, we traded above it yesterday. It was at 55.45 in the ES. And we know that these markets, tend to follow each other. So today, coming into the session, I wanted to see how we would trade around this all-time high view up. I'm going to go down to a smaller time frame, and we're going to frame out that jobless claims candle. Quite the move, right, Joanna? And the VWAP just moved because of the visible range, but we're going to put a line on the chart for where we know it was, and it was at 19,358. So I'm going to put that blue line on the chart there. Love that all-time high VWAP. Yeah, it is a great level to have on your charts, Coach. But here we go. We have the jobless claims print. The markets like what they saw, and we immediately left the range that we had yesterday in that first 3 minutes. A lot of time what we've seen for some of these news prints is the market chop around these levels. That's not what we saw today, right? The market liked the data. If we anchor a VWAP to that jobless claims print that we had, in the next 3 minutes, we were leaving that range. Where was that anchored to? 23-hour trader. So find the all-time high on your charts. It's right below 21,000. Put it on a 30-minute chart. I think the high was actually 29.83 in the NASDAQ. So anchor it there, and that will be that all-time high anchored view up. No problem. But we have an anchored view up to this jobless claims, right? When we have these big prints come out, they affect the markets, right? Again, we don't want to try to trade in these prints, or definitely not trading with micros. With minis. But this is a 100-point move in the NASDAQ in less than 3 minutes, and really it was like a 30-second move if you watched it, right? It happened pretty quick. So it's really hard to limit your risk there. But again, it gives us great opportunities to look for a trade. Once we close out of that range, we see this anchored VWAP from the print leaving that range really early, which is telling us from the jump buyers are in control. Now, when I'm watching this, what I'm watching is, okay, they're in control, but on a higher time frame, we know we have this anchored VWAP that was at 19,358. How does the market respond when we get up there, right? Because from that point, from that all-time high, sellers have been in control the entire time, right? So do buyers step in here? Do they take control of the market and start to push us back up towards some of these highs? So we see the hesitation, right? We come up to where that anchored VWAP was. This is still pre-market, so we know there's going to be less volume trading. But the market's making a good decision. Hey, are we going to keep buying this, or do we start selling again? We have the session open, and I keep hitting the wrong key. Session open here. Once that New York session opened, we traded above that all-time high VWAP. We checked below it a few times. Again, I'm going to anchor a VWAP to that session open, and we can see it again, right? Buyers all day, which with these slow grind kind of trend days up, we've talked about this a little bit yesterday and the day prior. Where do you get in, right? How do you get into something like this? I love this opening range breakout once we see volume going with it, right? You could take it when when you see the market trade above these levels, but when we see the VWAP kind of stay in the range, you see the hesitation, right? The market really hasn't chosen a direction, but once that VWAP leaves the range, it's a little bit later. The market's high, so we don't want to try to buy up here, but once we get that pullback to the VWAP, we can't even trade below it. That's an entry signal, right? That is an entry signal. Very similar example on the ES as well. I'll let you guys know how my trading day went. I had a 3-lot long in the ES at 55.29. Trading in my personal account. If I had Quant Tower up, I would show you. I cut the trade for 4 points. So still getting back into the swing of things, and kind of monitoring a bunch of other stuffs. But yeah, it was the same idea. Really sharp pullback. And what's this? This is a, what is that? A 70-point pullback in the NASDAQ, back to this VWAP, and we push. Now, you hear Andre talk about this all the time. Hey, what are these average pullbacks going to be? We got 45 points. We got another one that's 30 points. If you're counter trend trading, there's not a whole lot of opportunity here for you. You have to be very specific with where your trade entries are. And great at managing it, right? Where you have to realize that you're going counter trend in this situation. There's about 50 points for you. I think we did take a house account trade. Was it an ES trade? It was an ES trade in the house account that we did take. We polled the chat, said, hey, do we fish or cut bait on this? Chat, voted to cut bait, that, we're kind of fighting the trend, and it was the right idea, right? It was the right idea. And, sometimes you put on a trade idea, you assess the market, and you determine that, hey, maybe I'm not in the right position, right? Or maybe there's not that much of an opportunity here for me, right? I want to try to get in these trends as much as possible. I'm telling myself when I get in them, I got to hold it. But, we talked about it being easier to join the trend here. And after that, just pretty much a slow grind day up. I'm going to turn the volume back on. And we can see it in the middle of the day. Bring that back up. Volume pretty low in the middle of the day, right? Kind of hanging around, no major pushes, just a slow grind day up. I think the only real pullback opportunity, and we talked about this a little bit during the market stalking session with D, was something like this, right? Needing to see something like this before I buy and then go the other way. We saw it 2 other times throughout the day. This one took a little bit longer. This was like a 30-minute pullback. This one was 3 minutes. Why do these pullbacks happen faster in the earlier part of the session? There's more volume. There's more volume to trade to just, get the move over with, and we can continue. As the volume slows down, the moves are going to take a little bit longer. But what I really like about this is you can still measure them, right? measure it, 54 points. That's on average what the market needs. Maybe it takes 3 minutes, maybe it takes 30 minutes, but after we get that pullback, you can see it here. The market continues to trade up. How do we manage risk here? We've talked about seeing some of these strong pullbacks, buying somewhere in it, and going with a conservative price target to start, right? If we have this pullback to 19,520 in the NASDAQ, if I buy somewhere near 19,525, 19,530, I'm going to risk the lows, right? These swings here. And conservative price target is going to be on this sell candle here. Conservative price target is going to be the high of this candle to start. Why do I say conservative price target? Because we can say that this market needs to go to 19,600, but we don't know that until it happens, right? So assessing the market as it gets to some of these levels where we know selling came in, we want to see that these sellers are not stepping in anymore, right? If they're bad sellers, they become buyers eventually, and then that will push us up. Shout out to Francis Green for a level he called out on Power Hour, but 19,544. If we frame out this candle here, that happened at 11:45 Central Time. We checked right back down to where those sellers came in. They weren't there anymore, and the market bounced. Not sure exactly how Francis got to that level. I would have gotten to it by framing out the volume, but whatever it was, great level to call out, and a really nice bounce from there. We'll go to a 30-minute chart on the net. Wow, look at those wicks on the bottom of those 30-minute candles. That just looks like sellers trying to push the market lower, and they did not get anything from it. I see your questions in the chat. I'll get to them in a second. But the one thing I want to pull up here is, let's look at some moving averages just to see what we might have going into tomorrow. And I'm going to use the 20, 50, and 200 moving average. 20, 50, 200. The 20 is going to be yellow. 50 is going to be purple. 200 is going to be white. And let's see what we got. On a 30-minute chart, we are in a clear uptrend here. Right, the market, we saw it chop around a little earlier. Does anyone know if there's a quick way to delete all of the drawings on a chart? If you do, let me know. But here we go. 20, well above the 50. That's well above the 200 on the 30-minute chart. We started talking about that this may potentially be a short covering rally. It's starting to look like buyers, right? I'm interested to see what the open interest looks like tomorrow, but this is starting to look like buyers are stepping into this market. Really far extended above that 20 moving average now. We don't want to get too far away from it because then that usually means that we'll get a pullback. But traded to the high today in the NASDAQ, 19,603. Decision-making area anytime we get to these whole numbers. We didn't see the buying late in the day to push above that, but we'll be watching the market's reaction to that, going into the Globex Open and through the London session into New York tomorrow. But 20,000 is not far away in the NASDAQ. We know we've had this expanded range environment. The ATR, when I checked it this morning, was about 599 points. 20,000 is in range for tomorrow. Might seem crazy because we were just trading at, 17,500 or 17,800. But these markets are pretty resilient. So would not be surprised if we're trading 20K tomorrow. I will be on Fast Markets with Dakota, Hogue, and Andre tomorrow. So we will see. Maybe we get a rally. Hogue and I will put on our rally sweaters, and we'll be trading 20K in the NASDAQ tomorrow. All right. I see some questions in the chat. The opening range that I use a 3-minute. You're going to hear Hogue use a 1-minute. Some people use a 15-minute. Some people use a 30-minute. Whatever you use, I would say just frame it out on the time frame that you trade. It's going to be kind of similar, maybe a little different depending on if you extend that time frame past a 5-minute. But I'm going to use a 3-minute, and it's the first 3-minute candle of the market open. What time frame do I usually enter trades? 3-minute chart. 3-minute. I pretty much only use 2 time frames, a 30-minute and a 3-minute. And for my high time frame analysis, I'm going to look at a 30-minute like this. All right, I'm just going to zoom out, We can see all the levels. I can see this on a daily as well. But yeah, this looks pretty clean to me. I can kind of see what's going on, right? We're going all the way back to, the middle of July on a 30-minute chart. We do have some what looks like potential resistance up here though, right? We already talked about the 19,600, 19,700 as well. We rejected there the last time. So if we trade up to these prices, it's not a clear runway to 20,000. We're going to need to see some buyers step in here and tell us that they're convinced about buying these markets to push us up higher. And then one more question from Matt. How do you use the level 2 data when trying to enter into a trade? So Matt, what I'm going to pay attention to on level 2 data, you can see it on the DOM here on Topstep X. I'm paying attention to where major orders show up. So right now there's not going to be too much because the markets are closed, but we see a 47 lot here at 596. That's one of the biggest orders that we see. When the market trades up to that, I want to see the response to it, right? So you can see right next to my DOM, I have a time in sales. So when we trade up to these prices, I want to see, does that order get filled? How does it get filled, right? Is there one big player that just comes in and takes out the entire thing? Are we, kind of picking at it? Because what that's telling me is the market's reaction to those prices and that amount of size, right? If we're just picking at it, right, that might just mean that there's smaller players here. No one's really convinced about trading above those prices, and the market might get scared of it, if you will, and reject off of it. We saw that in the ES today, and we'll switch over to the ES right now. But we saw it in the ES today at 55.70, right? 55.70, pretty much right where we're trading right now. During the power hour segment, there was 1,000 lot that showed up at 55.70. Let's just do this here. I'm going to put a line on the chart, 55.70, and just look at the market's reaction to it, right? With the knowledge that there was a 1,000 lot sitting out here, right? So when we get up to these prices, does the market look really convinced about trading through those prices? We obviously traded through it. I think some of the order traded, some of it got pulled, but there's hesitation here, right? That hesitation, you could call it that's a supply area, and there is a supply because we're seeing 1,000 contracts sitting out there. But we need an initiative market buyer to come in and take that out, and we didn't see it. Not surprising. It's the end of the day. It's a huge order to take out. So not surprising that we didn't trade through it, but that's how I'm going to read that. And let's see if 55.70 on a 30-minute chart was any kind of, see, same resistance that we're seeing here. Starts around 55.70 and goes up to that 5600 level in the ES. The ES looks like it's leading the NASDAQ a little bit right now, where we were above that all-time high VWAP a little bit earlier, and we're trading to some of the resistance levels in the ES quicker than we are in the NASDAQ. But again, decision-making area here. Do we see the buyers step in and push us above these levels? We will figure that out tomorrow. Question, when does summer trading traditionally finish? When all the kids are back in school. I know different parts of the other states, some of your kids may already be in school, but in New York, we go back beginning of September. So after that first week, usually is when I've seen, the summer trading kind of end. All the kids that, their parents are done vacationing in the Hamptons or whatever they're doing, they go back to school and their parents can focus on trading. And I see another question here as well about the level 2 data. Do I filter large lots on time and sales? I don't. I have my ES DOM, my ES time and sales filtered to 20 contracts, and I can usually see, right, what's going on here, and I'll just point out some of the bigger numbers. August 28th in Massachusetts, nice. Got a couple of weeks. I got a younger brother getting ready to go to college. He's excited to go. It's his first year to be a freshman, and I think he's starting next week. So back to school time. Back to school time. Any other questions on the equity markets? We'll pull up the moving averages in the ES as well, just to kind of get a picture of those. We see the angle on these, right? The angle on these are just steeper, right? The 20 moving average is pretty much a straight line up right now. in trending markets, we see this 20 moving average act as a support often. Shout out to you, Coach Paul. And it's just a straight line up. So let's see if we continue this trend. If the buy program is back on, just buy all dips. We have to adjust, right? We had a sell-off for 2 weeks, but we know that these markets like to go up. So just pay attention to that in your trading. Make sure you're managing your risk, whatever you do, right? Because you could have the direction right where we're saying, hey, just buy it. But if you buy it in the wrong location, you can still be wrong on the trade. So just keep that in mind. Is there news tomorrow? Great question. Who was that? Pi. There is news tomorrow. We have Michigan sentiment out at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9. Wait, let me make sure I get that right. Yeah, so we have housing starts at 7:30 Central. We have Michigan sentiment at 9 Central. And that looks like it's about it. Building permits, housing numbers, all of that, all at the same time at 7:30 Central Time. And you guys know what I'm going to say. Frame out that candle, see if it presents you opportunity, and then know that if you are taking trades into that open, that Michigan sentiment number is coming out half an hour into the open. So you want to be aware of that as well if you do have a position on. Where can you find the settlement number? You can find it on the CME website, or you can find it on your Topstep daily levels, Topstep levels indicator on Topstep X. I have mine, labeled as this blue kind of teal line here. If you go into the settings for Topstep levels, you'll see there's a bunch here, right? Last week's high, yesterday's high, a bunch of other stuff. I made settlement a little bit bigger than all the other lines because I think it's one I really want to pay attention to. So I made that stick out. So that way you don't have to go find it. It's on your charts for you. And thank you, Andrew, for posting that link to the CME group site. And speaking of daily levels, let's do just a little bit of a plug for the Topstep daily levels. Especially today, there was a level in the ES, excuse me, on that sheet today. And I'm going to put the link to the daily levels in the chat so you guys have this. Let's see. As soon as I can copy and paste this. The Topstep daily levels, Coach Paul had a 55.35 level there. I think I had it as well. Coach Paul had it as a pivot. I had it as a sell side imbalance. Whatever you want to call it, it was important today. Let's see. Let's go down to that level. It's why I bought in the ES. And again, should have held that trade, but I don't get paid in hindsight. But 55.35, we see the kind of indecision around this area to start. But what I was looking for was, some significant closes above this level, right? Once we start to use it as a real support, where it looked like we tried it here, a lot of times at 9 a.m. Central Time, we will see a liquidity injection that looks exactly like this, right? I think we did the same exact thing yesterday, maybe a little bit later. We did it at 9:30. We pushed back below that level. We saw the selling get absorbed. They were not able to push price lower. Once we closed back above that pivot, off to the races. So make sure you put those Topstep daily levels on your charts. Even if you don't trade them, they're levels of interest, right? They're not saying, hey, buy here, sell here. But if you watch how the market is responding to them, they may give you opportunities, right? Everything we do is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing should be considered any type of trading advice. But, we are putting this information out to hopefully help you guys with your trades and at least help you analyze the markets. Any other questions here? Is there an effective way to know what news events affect each instruments? That's a good question. There are on your top, if you're trading on Topstep X, I'm going to, where is it? Economic events, right? So in charts and data on Topstep X, you have this option here that says hide economic events. You can uncheck that. And you'll see these events pop up. So I have these little icons down here. If I click on this, this is showing up on the ES chart because the ES is going to respond to this number. We got another one down here industrial production number, that's going to affect the ES, and it's on the chart. You can also use tools like Financial Juice and go from there. But most of these major numbers, jobless claims, FOMC, CPI, PPI, are going to affect the major markets that we trade, right? The ES, the NASDAQ, and the metals. And then obviously for oil, we have inventory numbers and things like that that come out. JC, I only use 3-minute charts for execution and 30-minute charts for analysis. All right, one more plug for Topstep X stuff. Hotkeys, I mentioned it a few times. You heard it mentioned on Topstep TV as well today. Hotkeys are enabled. In order to enable your hotkeys, you have to have either a DOM or an order panel up. You want to make sure that this H is lit up orange, and your hotkeys will be enabled from there. How do you set those up? You're going to go into your settings, click on hotkeys. I really went in here because I wanted to see if there was another one enabled today. Yesterday we found out there were some new ones, but I think what we got here is pretty good. If you want to enable a new hotkey, you're going to click Set Hotkey. I have this as Hide the Volume Profile. Volume is V, so I'm going to do Shift V for Hide my Volume Profile, confirm it, and then if I don't want the volume profile on my charts, let's see if it works. Shift V, and there we go. Volume profile up here. I actually have this on most of my platforms because I want to know the volume that trades at a specific level, just a part of the volume analysis, but good to have on there so we can see where most of the volume is executed for the day. All right. One more question I see from Joe, and then we'll go into crude oil and gold. I see that you use delta at candle level. What is the indicator that you use, and how do you use it trading to your advantage? To be clear, how do you use delta for confirming an entry? Joe, good question. That delta indicator is specific to Quantower. It's called delta flow. It's not yet available in Topstep X. There are delta indicators on the way. But the way I'm going to use that is I want to see either a heavy push of buying or selling and make a decision from there. For example, we have this candle right here. Right, this candle, the high of the candle is 54.42. The low of it is 55.28. And I had a level there. So I'm not going to use just the delta, although I think you can. I want to have some confluence with a level. So I'll tell you guys I had a level at 55.35, and then I had another one at 55.29, where I said I entered that trade and should have held it. But so now I have levels, and then I have heavy selling into these levels, and these are volume candles, but you can see it in the price action, right? There was clearly selling that had to come in here to push this price lower, and in lieu of having delta on my screen, I use time and sales, right? So I'm gonna watch the tape, and if it shows up a bunch of red, that's telling me that sellers stepped in. What does that mean? Someone came in and sold the market, leading to the negative delta for this candle. That's important. But then the second question I ask myself is, okay, they sold it. What did they get for selling? They got stopped at these levels that I have down here. So however much they sold, they were not able to push price lower. If sellers can't push price lower, eventually they become buyers, and that's an entry signal for me, right? So that's why I took this trade down here. And worst case scenario, I should be holding the position back up to the highs of this candle. And we talked about this a little bit before as well, but when we see that heavy negative delta come in and get a candle close outside of it, look at it, perfect example here. Candle close outside of where we know these sellers came in. If you sold in this candle, put it in the chat. If you sold at 55.42, the market pushed down to 55.28 and you thought it should go to 5,500, when the market trades back to 55.43, what are you going to do? If your short entry was at 55.42 and the market's now trading above it, eventually what do? Right? We all become buyers, and that's what pushes the market up. So these weak sellers that we're seeing that can't push price lower, that's going to attribute to negative delta. But if they can't push price lower, they become buyers, and we see the market float up above it. All right. What is the tool I'm using to measure the candle? These are just fibs. I just took the fib tool and took all of the levels out of it. So I just have, and I'll show you this real quick. I have all the levels taken out. I just have 0, 50%, and 100% because I want to know 50% retracements and where the highs and the lows of the candle are. And that's it. So on Topstep X, if you look at the drawing tools over here, where is it? Fib retracement is another hotkey, Alt F. So I just hit Alt F, draw my fibs, and then measure out the candles from there. All right. I think that's enough on the ES. Again, still trending upwards. We will see what tomorrow brings, but it looks like the buyers are back in town. Gold. Let's talk about gold. Gold cannot hold above 2,500. Here it is on a 30-minute chart. We'll reset this price scale. And someone told me how to remove the drawings, but I missed it in the chat, so I'm just going to do this manually real quick, and we'll get right back into it. So gold, you see the difference in the moving averages in gold than what we had in the equities? The 20, the 50, and the 200 moving average are kind of all braided around each other, right? There's no clear direction in this market right now, and it's getting tighter, right? So this range is getting tighter, which, you know, if you're a range-bound trader, there's still opportunity for you to trade this, but the trend is starting to slow down a little bit, which makes sense, right? We have a lot of news coming out. We're trading up near all-time highs in gold. The market has to make a decision. What I haven't done in gold is the all-time high anchored VWAP, but I'm going to be pretty sure that it's, hey, look at that. Look at that, all-time high anchored VWAP in gold, supportive today. I heard Hogue talking a lot about this all-time high anchored VWAP in the equities. It's an important level. I'm just going to say that, right? And we can see it again in gold. Another example, the all-time high anchored VWAP was at 24.86. Gold is what got you funded today. One cool rattler. Awesome. Congratulations on getting funded. Make sure you trade well in that funded account. There's no rush to make money. You know, if you traded well in the combine, just continue to do what you were doing. Focus on taking good trades, and everything will take care of itself. But really good stuff. Were you short or long gold? Let us know, Rattler. But, you know, let's go down to a shorter time frame. Gold is going to be affected by the news that came out as well, the jobless claims print, and we can do the same thing. Here is the jobless claims number in gold. The low of it, 24.95, the high of it, 25.05. So that candle just kind of split that 2,500 major psych level and set the high for the day going into the New York session for gold. And we can see it again here, right? If we anchor a VWAP to that, we already see it in the price action. You don't even need to anchor the VWAP, but just for visual purposes, volume left this range very early, and for about a half an hour was resistant. Right, this VWAP was resistant for about a half an hour, which is just a really nice trade in gold, right? 24.95. If you wait for the candle to close outside of this range, volume went with it. Really nice sell. This is a 25-point move in gold in about a half an hour. You could take this trade and walk away for the day, right? Some people would try to trade in this candle here because you want to try to, you know, be the soccer goalie during penalty kicks and guess where the market is going to go. You don't have to do that. You could wait, see how the market responds, and trade it from there. After that, VWAP got pretty flat. The market stuck in a range again. Again, we talked about expecting this to happen around this 2,500 level where, you know, it's a decision-making area. Do we make all-time highs or do we sell off on the trend? Dwayne, another trader, gold got me funded today as well. Short prior to market open. Disabled account for the remainder of the day, so not to give back profits. Dwayne, great job. Love to see people trading gold, presenting a ton of opportunities. Jay, remove drawings with the trash can on the left toolbar. There we go. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I have that set as a hotkey. So I'm gonna put in a vote for some of these things to be hotkeys as well in Topstep X. But thanks for that. That's a quick way to do it. Radler was long after the second pullback. Nice, right? So range bound markets, right? We see Dwayne was short, Radler was long, both got funded. You can trade in different directions as long as your trade location is in a good spot. There is opportunity right now. If we had Radler saying up here that, hey, I want to buy this because the market's above 2,500 and I know it should go up, and holding on to that bias, you might be saying, I hit my DLL today. But you waited for the market to present an opportunity for you to take a trade that fits your playbook, and that led you to funding, and that's what we all have to do, right? Find a setup that makes sense to you, trade it, and we will go from there. So good stuff, guys. How do you anchor VWAP? Another good question. Here we go. In the drawing tools, it's in forecasting and measurement tools. So anchored VWAP is one of the volume-based measurement tools. Anything that you use all the time, click the star next to it, and it's going to put this little toolbar on your charts. So for me, I actually usually just have this drawing thing minimized over here. And I just click on the icon for anchor VWAP and click a candle. That's it. What time do Topstep daily levels go up for the trading day? Daily levels are going to be updated right around 8 Central. So some of the Topstep levels in this indicator, like the weekly kickoff high, low, things like that, those are going to be those are static levels. They stay the same for the week. But then we have yesterday's high, yesterday's close, and things like that. Those get updated a little bit later on that website. Those levels should be updated by 8 a.m. Central Time. And JD, my man JD, is the one that is responsible for updating those levels and doing a great job of it. What else do we have? Oh, we didn't go over crude. Didn't go over crude, so let's go over crude real quick. And I see another Topstep daily level playing out. And it's a level that's everywhere, but that indicator just really helps for a visual cue. Settlement, $77 in crude oil. I know Dakota last night when we were on slow markets was talking about taking a long. I think he was looking somewhere lower, down around 76.51. So I don't know if he actually ever got that fill. But settlement price being supportive. You've heard a lot of a mention about settlement recently. Anne Maria's been talking about it. Hogue has been talking about it. Important level, especially in gold. In crude. I remember when Dan Hodgman was on Topstep TV early on and trading crude. He would focus a lot of his trading opportunities around that settlement price, right? We can see it here. Maybe you weren't awake trading, last night, but we bounced off a settlement. The market kind of based around there for a little while. These are 30-minute candles, so it didn't get the expedited move right away. But if you're a trader that says, hey, you know what, this is my level, I want to put in a limit, get my fill, establish my stop, and just let the market work. That settlement price worked out really well today. 30-minute chart on crude oil. I'm going to pull up the moving averages again. And similar to, I'm going to use my newfound delete all drawings. Similar to gold, some indecision here, right? A lot of balance. The moving averages are kind of wrapped around each other. We know we talked about that $80 level in crude oil. This contract, I believe, will be rolling over tomorrow, so we should be trading the October contract tomorrow. But it's going to be the same idea, right? The levels are going to change, but the market structure is not. The market is in balance somewhere near these highs, $80 on this contract right now. But I also see this resistance area here, the high of it being 78.88, the low 78.30, and we kind of rejected in that today. Again, we know this move that we saw in crude, pretty much from 74 to 80, was a news-led move. but then we've seen, some of those headlines kind of cool off a little bit. So when that happens, the markets are going to cool off as well, right? We stay in these ranges, but if there is an escalation or a de-escalation, then we'll see the market respond to it. So that is it on crude. Oh, we're 45 minutes in already. We'll keep going though, because I see some questions in the chat. If you have any other questions in the chat, do let me know. Let me make sure I take care of some housekeeping items. Dr. Brett Steenbarger, I know we had Jared Tendler on. Anybody go back and watch that segment with Jared Tendler? It is on the Topstep YouTube from the live session yesterday at 12 p.m. Central Time. We had Jared Tendler on yesterday. Brett Steenbarger on tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow. Next week, Tuesday, August 20th. Tuesday, August 20th, Dr. Brett Steenbarger. When we get closer to that event, we will be sharing a link for you to ask Dr. Brett some questions for that session. So when you see that link come out, make sure you send in your questions if you have any. World-renowned trading psychologist. So you're going to want to get your questions answered by him. Another session that I will have a pen and pad ready for. Let's see. Question. Hey, how do you find the sell side imbalance levels? Undauntable. Good question. Those are going to come from Quantower. There's an indicator that I had showed a little bit earlier called power trades. And basically all it's doing is anytime a large order gets filled, it's putting an indicator on a chart and then I'm framing those out. Again, some of these indicators will be available soon or a version of it potentially on Topstep X. But the way you could do it if you don't have access to that indicator, the way I did it for years without having access to that indicator was, having to be at my desk, right? And seeing the orders get filled. And I would just do it manually, right? If I saw, we go back to the ES, if I saw that, that 1,000 lot that was at 55.70 get filled, I would just put a line on my chart and text. I would say 1100 on the ask. And I would just leave it there, right? Put it there manually and say, hey, there was a huge order filled here. Power Trades is going to do it automatically for me. But sometimes it's good to put manual levels on your chart on your own because then it meant something, right? It meant something to you when you saw it. But that's how I would do it from there. All right, another question from Piano Joe. Is it worth looking at the DOM without level 2 data or should I wait to study the DOM until I have level 2 data? The DOM without level 2 is going to be a little bit difficult because you only have one level up and down. So, take that into consideration, right? You only have one level up and down, so you're not going to be able to see what's higher, what's lower. But if it's something that you are, looking to work into your trading, kind of listen to the conversation that's happening around on TopstepTV first. And then if you think that's something that you want to use, then go ahead and subscribe to it, right? Don't just throw it on because I hate to, have anyone, add a tool and then not use it. Make sure that it's going to be something that you're going to put the time into to learn in your trading. And then just know that that data gets charged at the beginning of every month, regardless. It doesn't get prorated or anything like that. It's $39 a month, so it's okay. But it is an extra cost, but that's fine, right? If it's going to help out your trading, it's going to help you make some money, help you understand the markets a little bit better. That's what it's there for. And if you have any questions about it, I'm always in the Topstep Discord, hanging out in there, kind of answering questions. So you can ask there as well. All right, I think we went over the 4 markets. I'm going to leave it open for a few more minutes. If anyone does have any other questions, and if not, we will go ahead and end it. We do have Coach Ray and Coach Vince in Discord tonight. Coach Ray at 6 p.m. Central Time, Coach Vince at 7 p.m. Central Time, and then we have Coach Dakota, Slow Markets at, what time is Dakota going? 7:30 Central Time. I should know that. I was on the session yesterday. 7:30 Central Time for Dakota. A ton of new programming with Topstep TopstepTV as well. Nick Fortick doing the Sunday Open. I'm excited to see what Nick has to talk about this Sunday coming up. And then we have Deanna. Deanna with the London Open at 3:30 a.m. Central Time. Don't think she's on tomorrow because it's Friday. She usually does that Monday through Thursday, but make sure you check out those segments. What I really like to do, kind of in my own time, right, if I'm doing chart review and things like that, go back and watch some of those segments, right? Obviously, we want to take some time off the charts too, so make sure you do that. But if you go back, watch the segments, and then see how the market responded, provides a ton of good opportunity. That's extra screen time for you to kind of help you understand the markets if that's where you are in your trading journey. What time did this start? 3:15 Central Time. I got to start talking to myself in Central Time. But I think that's it. I think that is it. We will go ahead and end it there. Thank you for joining, everyone, again. If you like what you heard today, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that one as well. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your trading buddies to come and hang out with us at Topstep as well, so we can get those subscriber numbers up. We're looking for 120,000 sometime soon, right? Let's get these numbers up. That's a good question, Scott. Top 4 indicators, volume, anything to do with volume. So Delta, honestly, I probably really only use Delta VWAP. It's actually a really good question. Let's end with that. If you had to, there's a question, I forgot what trading podcast this is, but I really like this question. I think it's Corbs' trading podcast, who has been on Topstep TV before. If you had to simplify your trading down to one time frame and one indicator, what would it be? For me, 3-minute chart with Delta. Outside of that, I think I'm good. Anything else is going to be added information. But if I had to simplify it, 3-minute chart with Delta. Let us know in the chat what yours would be. Think about that in your own trading because we want to try to simplify things as much as possible. Can we get Delta on Topstep X? It's on the way, Moises. All right. I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Talked about the other programming that's coming out. Make sure you check that out as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow on Fast Markets. Have a good night. Bye.